Hey there. Welcome to Discover the Divine You. My name is Kimberly Nicole. Right now I'm on a journey to figure out who the real Kimberly Nicole is, who I was divinely created to be. So I created this podcast in hopes others could benefit from what I'm learning and the different ways I'm connecting with a higher power. I created this space for honest conversations about healing, creativity, spiritual growth, and learning to reconnect with myself while living presently in my life. I'm a mom of 3. I have a job. I'm in 12-step recovery. Real life happens every day. So this is a space of no pressure, no expectations, no perfection, just progress. A journey towards finding peace, clarity, and connection to something bigger than ourselves, going from chaos to calm. So here we go. I'm so glad you're here to take this journey with me. Let's get creative. Shooting on Yourself, episode 4. Welcome to the next episode. Ooh. If you're from the 90s, you would get that reference. I need to start over. Do I need to start over? No, I'm not going to start over. I'm not going to do it. Okay, here we go. Next episode. I don't know which one this is. 3, 4, 5, 7. Nah, I don't have that many recorded. I wish I did, but I don't. All right, so welcome back to Discover the Divine You. I am Kimberly Nicole, and your host for this evening, morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Today I want to talk about shitting on yourself. You shouldn't shit on yourself. I remember the first time I heard that, I just started laughing because it sounded like a swear. And it wasn't a swear. But it's kind of a swear. I don't like to use the word should because of a lot of reasons. You know, if you think about it, we use that word a lot. I mean, I used to, for sure, use that word a lot. And it didn't help me at all. It was really a way for me to shame and guilt myself, which was absolutely not helpful for my growth or my self-esteem or self-confidence. It depleted all of those things. So I believe that should is a swear in my book. Say the S-H-I-T word all you want, but the should, no, don't do it. Don't you do it. I spent a lot of time telling myself what I should and shouldn't do. And it really started to weigh me down. I felt really heavy and really sick. After a while, it was physically making me sick. A lot of my health problems came from my overeating, which came from my self-medicating. And a lot of the shoulds led to the guilt, and I didn't want to feel the guilt, so then I would eat so that I wouldn't feel, and then I would feel guilt and shame for eating, and then I'd spend a bunch of money and then feel better for a second, and then it would lead to shame and should and shouldn'ts and all those things. None of it good. And those habits of shoulding and shouldn'ting on myself, I don't want to pass that down to my children. That's not to say that I don't need to improve and say, ooh, that wasn't the best choice. I don't feel like it helped me. The most loving thing for me to do for myself is this. That's the way I want to reroute myself. Not through shoulds and should nots, because those are shaming and guilting, and my higher power doesn't work through those things. So I talk about creativity a lot, and I don't really do a lot of creative things on this channel, which I'm going to change that. I think every once in a while, maybe once a month, I'm going to just do something crafty with you guys because I want to, because I'm the boss. Because I get to make the rules on this here channel. And I don't have to be, or I shouldn't be, or should be anything specific. I'm just going to be me. Loud, sarcastic, silly, ridiculous, creative, beautiful, amazing, wonderful, talented Kimberly Nicole. I don't know if I repeated any of those things, but if I did, it just means I needed to hear it more. So, as far as not shoulding on myself, today I'm better at rerouting my brain into saying something more productive, like I had mentioned before, but I'm not always that good at it. At first I had to just really sit with it and ask my higher power to help me hear when I'm doing it. Because that's really a huge part of the issue for me, is that I didn't hear myself shoulding. It would just come so naturally. It was the default mechanism. I would just make this instant reply. Oh, should have done this. Oh, should have done that. Shouldn't have done that. And that led to just a more negative voice in my brain. So when I recognize the shoulds and should nots, I wonder how many times I've said it already so far. Probably like 50. And I'm only 5 minutes into this video, guys. So by the end of this video, it's my goal to just come up with more loving ways of talking to myself. Like, sweet baby girl, of course you ate that thing. Of course you wanted to numb. Of course you wanted to should all over yourself. You're an addict. You're a human. You make mistakes. But really, honestly, I want to talk about that word mistake. I don't believe that there's such thing as a mistake. I think we are doing exactly what we were put on this planet to do. Try something, see how it feels. If it doesn't feel great, try something else. If it affects someone else negatively, maybe I'll do it this way next time. Right? So there's all kinds of ways for the shoulds and should nots to come in and creep in. So we don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So instead, I want to be loving to myself and just be curious. Like, ask myself questions like, why do I want to should on myself? Why is that word should so taboo? Why is what I did making me feel the ick? Or what that person did making me feel the ick? What's a more loving thing I can do for myself? And when I do catch myself shoulding, I say, of course you did, baby girl. Bless your sweet little heart. And I don't say that in an ironic, rude way. I say that very lovingly to myself. Because I do need to bless my heart, because my heart has been hurt so many times. And it just needs to be loved. And I'm not going to be able to fully move forward if I can't fully accept where I'm at right now. And so when I see these negative vibes surfacing, that's when I have to go, I don't really understand this. Let's ask some questions. Let's dig a little deeper, right? And I don't have all the answers. That's why I go to my two-way prayer. That's why I go to making outreach calls. That's why I go to prayer. That's why I go to meditation. That's why I go to calming spaces. I listen to calming music. I write out all my feelings. I do brain dumps whenever I need to and just write all my crazy psychobabble into my notebook. And if anyone reads it, it's at their own risk, because most of it makes absolutely no sense to anyone else but me. And or it can just make you completely confused. But it gets it all out. I don't need it in here. I don't want it to take up space, right? It is prime real estate that I need for recovery and for happiness and joy and for fully living my life. And I don't want all this should not nonsense taking up space in my brain. So I write a lot. Find what lets things go. Like, what is a good release for you? Is it writing? Is it music? Is it boxing? I love to punch stuff, you guys. Oh, I love it. I have a punching bag in my garage. I don't use it as much as I need to, as I want to, because I do like it. I don't use it as much as I want. And I'm going to change that. You heard it here. I'm making a declaration to myself that I will use my punching bag more. Because, if I'm being honest, I really do have a lot of rage deep down inside of me. And it takes a lot of effort to not punch somebody who's being a jerk in the face. It really does. I'm going to tell you a story. And if you have an opinion about it that's not positive or kind, I don't want to hear about it. But I'm going to share it anyway. So my kids were fighting. One of them punched the other one, gave him a bloody nose. I could have guilted and shamed and scolded and whatever to both of them because neither of them were innocent in the situation. One irritated the other to the point of retaliation and vice versa. So there was really no innocent party here. It was more about teaching them that it's normal to feel angry. It's normal to feel rage, right? It's just what you do with it that's important. So I looked at both of them and I said, do you guys know how hard it is for me to not punch you guys every single day? And they both looked at me like I was insane. And like my son goes, well, I would call the police on you. And I was like, good, you should if I did. Oh, I said should. I don't know how else to say that. Good, if I hurt you, call the police. 100%. That's wrong, right? So I looked at him and I said, have I ever punched you in the face? And he's like, no. And I said, because I work really hard every day to not do that. But that doesn't mean I never get angry. It doesn't mean that I never have the urge. But if I punched every person that I felt like punching, a lot of people would end up in the hospital, including me. I'd probably be dead for as often as I would punch myself, right? And so we were able to have a really frank and honest conversation about why we don't hit each other and that it's really not a shameful thing to get angry. Anger is a good indicator of where we are emotionally and what boundaries have been crossed, and a sign that we need to set a healthy boundary. And sometimes boundaries aren't like visible until they're crossed, which is a really cool bonus lesson that we got to talk about, which I really liked. And later on, when we got home, my husband noticed that my daughter and I were talking and we were happy. And he goes, how come you guys are already friends when your mom just scolded you on the way home? And because we drove separately. And she goes, Mom didn't scold me. You didn't get in trouble? He said. And she goes, no, we just talked. And he's like, what? Like it was this novel concept. Because when he and I were growing up, you got punished if you did something wrong. If you spoke out of turn or, hit someone or whatever, you got a consequence. But instead, my kids and I talked about it. And we were chill afterwards. And not to say that I never give them consequences, because typically I don't really end up having to give them a consequence. There's a natural consequence to the choices that they make. But sometimes I do need to interfere and be like, whoa, I'm the mom. This is what's going to happen so that you can be safe, right? I'm not saying don't parent. And I'm not telling anyone how to live life or be their person. And here comes someone walking into the door when I'm recording. Isn't life great? I love my family. And I'm not even going to edit that out either, because I think it's really important to not make work more important than my kids. And if they had known I was recording, they wouldn't have come in. And that's, I don't know. I just think that's a sign that we're making good progress. I don't have to edit that out. They don't have to feel embarrassed, because that's life, right? It's life. So, moral of the story, don't shit on yourself. And try your best to love yourself where you're at and love the people that are around you where they're at. Because we are all just doing the best we can with what we've been taught. And in my experience, the people who put the effort in to do the uncomfortable things, to learn how to do it differently, are the ones that have the happiest lives. So don't be scared to learn new things. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to feel safe at first. But I promise you, if you feel inspired to do something, even though it feels uncomfortable, there is a huge blessing on the other side of that thing. Like, sometimes the thing that's hurting you is hurting you because it's familiar. And you're staying there because it's familiar. But once you start moving into a more positive way of thinking, it's really uncomfortable. It does not make any sense to your brain. It's kind of like sends off all the alarms in your head, like, whoa, this is new. I don't like it. Let's go back to the default. But the default is where what used to save you and protect you is now hurting you. So once I figure out what's hurting me, my defaults, I want to shift those defaults into something more loving. And that's really uncomfortable. Feeling loved is uncomfortable. Feeling vulnerable is uncomfortable. Feeling like I'm not in constant chaos. That was uncomfortable at first. Going from chaos to calm, the in-between part, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, guys. It's simple, but it is not easy. And it's really, for me, just about repetition. Like doing these small and simple, loving acts for myself. Then, even when I feel uncomfortable in them, that's where it leads to the real change. That's where I find the most peace. That's where I reach my calm. And I love that place now. I'm happy and grateful for that place. And, check out my Chaos to Calm reset guide. It's just 5 short minutes. I mean, you could even do it for just a couple seconds each section. Try it out. Try something new today. Because you can, not because you should, right? And if you catch yourself using the S word, change it to I can. Or I don't want to. It's okay to say you don't want to. And, until we create again, be nice to yourself. Do something fun and silly. Go dance in your room by yourself, or draw something pretty, or take a cool picture. It really doesn't matter. Do what feels best for you. Or do what feels the most uncomfortable, but also a little bit safe. Don't do anything that will hurt you. I feel like I could go off in so many tangents there, but I'm going to leave you with that, with the thought of loving yourself no matter what, and changing that should to I can, or because I love myself. And yeah, with that, I will see you next time. Bye. Hey, thanks so much for being here today. You're my favorite. I'm so glad you came. I know life is busy, so I really do appreciate the time you're taking to do some self-care and hang out with me for a little bit. If something that we talked about today resonated with you and you want to dig a little deeper, I put together a 5-minute creative reset guide called Chaos to Calm that you can access in the show's description. And I would be so grateful if you'd subscribe and share this podcast with someone out there that you think could benefit from what we're creating here together. Also, remember, I am just sharing my experience, strength, and hope as I understand it here. So if bigger emotions come up, please take care of yourself and reach out to a licensed professional or someone that you trust for support. You are not alone in this. So until we create together again, please be kind to yourself and do something creative because you deserve it.